Thank you very much. Thank you for coming to this page where we're going to tell the history about Nkoranza, the history of Dega against Nkoranza or in relation with Nkoranza, and somehow would interplay that with certain portion of Ashanti. Let's go into the matter. Why this? We've written severally on most of these cases about Nkoranza and how they are distorting history and telling lies to their people. At one time, I met some Nkoranza indigents, and they were saying that, oh, but Mo served Nkoranza. Mo, to them, Mo means Dega, like the Dega as a tribe, which is known as one of the languages in this country. But Mo is what the Akan people call Dega, just as they call Ewe, the Ewe people, Ayi before. But there's no tribe called Ayi before. They are called Ewe. So the Akan people call the Deg people Mo. The actual language is called Deg, not Mo. So I will go there. This is just a premise of the case under review. One, let's go to Nkoranza's own history. Nkoranza, as the name depicts, Nkokra Miensa. How did it come about? In establishing Nkoranza as a paramountcy some 300 years ago, what really happened? And we'll go through the chronological order of things. How it happens, when it happened, what really happened, and what didn't happen. And then we're not here just to play around history. We're here for the facts and as it is. You know, let's take away certain people write-ups which are not really right, especially Adubuahin, who is so biased towards Akan and or Asante and his write-ups are not to be considered. Professor Adubuahin. So let's go into the matter. What happened to Nkoranza? Nkoranza people migrated from Amakum in Kumasi in 1717. What happened? Nkoranza people were of Aduana lineage. So in Amakum, they were under the suppression of the Asante and Asantehene. So, in most of the time, they used them for ritual burial. It was painful. They were losing their people because they considered them their slaves. So in 1717, when Otumfuo or Asantehene Ossetu the First died in a battle with the Achem people near the Proud River. What happened, we know this. The Nkoranza people, then, which were of Aduana people, sensed danger that they could be used for ritual burial or sacrificial burial of the king. So under the cover of darkness, their leader, called Adu Denyera, led them out of Amakum. These are people unprepared these are not hunters, they are not warriors. They're just people who were searching for a place to live. Let's listen well. So at the cover of midnight, so before the Ashantis wake up, the Nkoranza people had left. And in those days, who are you going to ask? No. So they came closer to Offenso, and their leader was Adudenyira. After Offenso, Adudenyira passed away, and his nephew, called Bafokeng, continued to lead the group. And he led the group Offenso eastward direction to meet a section of Dega people called Mo by the accounts at a place called Longoro Kooro. The Longoro Kooro was there because the big Longoro, which was and is still the traditional capital of the Dega or Mo people. So what happened? At Longoro Kooro, because the accounts couldn't call Longoro, they couldn't pronounce the word Longoro, so they said Donkoro. And it remains that way, and the town is still there, and it's called Longoro Kooro. So what happened? The Longoro Kooro was a garrison for the Dega people of Longoro, Manchala, Kandige, Bewele, Yara, all the other areas, to Bamboy, and all over all the Dega people. So the Longoro Kooro was a garrison, a point of entrance into their land. So what happened? When Bafokeng, the new leader of the Nkoranza people, came to Longoro Kooro or Longoro Kooro, the dead leader or the elder then was called Nnaa Yaw. So Nnaa Yaw was his name. Malaman further explained the word Teow. Teow itself is the biggest deity in Degland. And Teow, every Deg town have a replica of a Teow in their town. So every Deg town have a Teow. So a village will have a Teow. But it's a name also inherited. It's been given to people. You can still find a lot of people in Deg called Teow. And it's a very beautiful name because of the powerful war deity Teow. So they met this man who was an elder there called Nnaa Yaw. So he asked him, Bafokeng, are you here for war? And the Bafokeng said, no. He said, why? He said, I moved out of midnight. We moved out of midnight. And we are here. We are here in search for a place to stay. With a man's benevolence, he gave them a place to stay. So they stayed at a place called Longoro Kooro, which is called Longoro Kooro by the accounts, and it's still there now. So what happens? In the course of their living with them, the man got old, the Nnaa Yaw, and he wanted to return to Longoro, the big Mo town, to become the elder of his clan. Remember, the Longoro Kooro was just a garrison. So he needed to, to come to the real traditional town where he's a warrior also. And the Bafokeng asked him, then how will you live? How can you leave me here? And he said, no, I'm going to leave the replica of my God, which they can call Suman, at Donkro Kwanta. He said, I did not know how to worship. So what happened? Bafokeng requested that he should allow his son, one of his sons, to live at Donkro Kwanta so that he could be serving. So the case continued. But in all this, Nnaa Yaw brought Bafokeng to Longo to be introduced to the king. So he was introduced to the dead king at Longo. That these are the people who run away far away from another group of people, but then they never encountered Ashantis themselves. So what happened? He accepted them and said, okay, go and live at Longoro Kooro. So who was supposed to serve one another? It was the Nkoranza people who were under the servitude, who were serving the Dekmo people. It didn't end then. Not long did the Nkoranza people, the elders left and established the current Nkoranza when they met the three elders called Nkokra Miensa. In living at, when Nkoranza was formed, that was somewhere in 1819, 1820. And then it was the Bonomanso people who allowed them to stay there. Then the Bafokeng established friendship tie with the king of Bonomanso, Nnaa Yaw. As kind as they were, they didn't think of anything bad. Not knowing there was treachery in the veins of this Nkoranza leader called Bafokeng. Before they left Kumasi hadn't got a substantive king, because by then Osei died at war. And there was a palace revolt at Mansha. So they did not have a chieftain. But afterward, Ashanti settled, Kumasi settled, and they appointed Opoku I as a king of Asante. So when Bafokeng heard it, he went back to Kumasi before he came back. But then he established close tie, and he told them he found a place to live, and they allowed him. So he came back to the Bonomanso king, Nnaa Yaw, and told Nnaa Yaw, Nana, the Asante people have installed a new king in the name of Opoku I. So I want you to establish friendship tie with Kumasi, the Asantis. They said, oh, good. So Nnaa Yaw gave him gold, because the Bonomanso people were dealing with gold mining. They were gold miners. That should tell you that Galamsey did not start today. Bonomanso, as far as late as 1717 thereabout, they were dealing with gold. So he gave gold to Bafokeng to be given to Opoku I as a gift to establish friendship tie. But there, treachery came along. Bafupim of Nkoranza took the gold for himself and loaded the box or whatever with gunpowder and sent the gunpowder to Opokuware in 1721 and told Opokuware, this is what the Bono Manso King Nnaa Yaw gave me to be giving you. When Asantis heard this, he didn't hesitate. They got angry. In those days, sending gunpowder to somebody, a group of people, is a call to war. War. You've invited them to war. So the Asantis prepared for war against Bono Manso. And you know what? The same Bafupim was the one who led the war, directing the Asantis where to pass, at what time to attack. And Bono Manso was vandalized in 1722 and 1723. And when the war trophies were gathered, a larger proportion was given to the Nkoranza Bafupim. At Ashanti's oblivion that it was a treacherous act by Bono Manso, by Bafupim, who secretly or treacherously took the gift that was supposed to be given to Asantehene and loaded it with gunpowder. So when the land was taken away from the Bono people, the Ashanti gave the land to Nkoranza as a caretaker for Ashantis. So they took away Bono Manso, yet free, all the way, and gave that to Bafupim of Nkoranza. And they brought the royals of Bono Manso to be stationed at Techiman. Techiman was a small town then. It was originally established by the Asantis. So when the Asantis left to the coasts, somewhere in 1430, 1450, Techiman became a small town. So the Asantis brought the Techiman, the Bono Manso royals to station at Techiman. And that's how Techiman take shape. Then we go. Then in their course of their existence, the Bafupim and his Nkoranza people yearly do visit the Longoro Kooro, and they come with fowls and dogs to do the yearly sacrifice for the pacification of the land they were staying at Nkoranza. And the chief therefore would give them yams to be sent back to Nkoranza to pacify the Suma, the smaller Teow at Nkoranza. So they were doing that until they formed the Nkoranza state. In forming the Nkoranza state, they made Nkoranza the Ankobia-Hene of Nkoranza. Because by then Ankobia lineage was created by Opokuware I. It happened when they went for a revenge war against Achim. Revenge against Achim because of the death of Osei I. And in that war, at their blind side also, Abrimo of Seshi Ohim came and vandalized Kumasi and burned down Kumasi, caught people slaves and sent them to Ohim. So when Opokuware returned, they established an Kobia lineage to take care of the home when they are at war, at distance. Then let's go back to Nkoranza. Nkoranza relation with Dega continues until in 1744, when they told the Asantis that in your course of war, you win some, you lose some. But we think there are some friends we have. They are called Deg people. That was the name we know ourselves. Or Mo. But then we call Mo because of the NOT Techiman people. They will send a lot of fish from the black water to be sold in those towns. So they asked them, where did you get a fish from? He said, we got it from Mo. The black water is called Mo by the Dega people or Mo people. So the Mo, they got it from the Mo people became Mo. That is one section of the commentary of the language Mo. So in 1744, when Bafupin told the Asantehene Opokuware the First, the Asantis were led by Bafupin to Longo to introduce the Asantis to the Dega people, so as Dega will help the Asantis with their war deity called Teow. So Opokuware and the people came and they saw a very grandiose palace. A palace hedged with ivories. Elephant tusks. And the bathhouse of the king was packed with ivories, where the king sits or bath. So they appreciated the grandeur and establishment of the king palace. So Asante established relationship with the Mo people in 1744. And in that very year, they helped Asantis at war. And Asante made Dega or the Mo Abrempong. They gave the Mo Abrempong status. And this can be verified by the Demchenche of the Asante Council. In that Demchenche, go back to it, all Abrempong are seated in front, and their subordinates are seated at their backs. In that arrangement, you can find a town like Nkoranza, you can find Mampong, you can find Kokofu in front, all these towns in front. Then you can find Bandai in front, Wenchi in front, and you find Mohene in front. This refutes Nkoranza's false claim that Deg or Mo ever served. If Deg or Mo ever served Nkoranza, they would have sat at the back of Nkoranza-Hene when he sits at the Demchenche. It didn't happen so. Deg has always been independent people. They are kind, benevolent people, but they never were subjugated by anybody. They never were subjugated by anybody. Even in the coming of Nnaa Dagbie in 1650, Nnaa Dagbie, after entering Bole, could not enter Degland beyond Tinga. Wild beasts, animals of undescribed demeanors and appearance attacked them. And they said, no, this is no way to go. So they established friendship with Dega people, and they never attacked Dega. So nobody in history had conquered Dega for Dega to ever serve him. Not alone Nkoranza, that Dega rather hosted, gave them land to stay. Let's continue. So from 1744, and with the establishment of relationship with Asante, what happened was the Dega then used their war deity, the Teow, to help Asante in various wars. One, in 1756, Atakpame War. Atakpame up northern Dahomey or northern Togo today. In 1818, Gyaaman War. Again, Adenkra and Adenkra, Dega were there, they supported Asante. In 1824, Nsamankou War, where St. Charles McCarthy was defeated and killed, Dega represented. They fought for Asante. In 1826, Kantamanto War, or we call it the War of Dodoa, Dega represented, they helped Asantis. In the Gyaaman, in the Drobo revolt, Dega were there. And that in other sections too, Dega also used the same deity to fight against Ashantis. When Ashantis fought against certain neighbors who came to help, to ask for Dega help. For instance, when Osebonsu attacked Wenchi, when Osebonsu attacked Wenchi somewhere in 1888, the Wenchi people sought the help of Bulela, which is called Branham, by the Akan people. And the Branham or Bulela used the Teow deity to help Wenchi, with once using their kukufri. And these two deities fought well, but Wenchi were defeated. So Asante honored Branham for using the Teow deity so strong against them. That's a mistake Asante gave Branham, the island state, forgetting that Branham is part of the DEGA state. So it should have gone, the reward should have gone to the Longoro Kooro and Longoro. And because of this small gesture, Branham is claiming to have his own paramountcy. We'll go there, we'll live there and come back. And also, there was a time in 1892 when Nkoranza II were attacked, and they asked for Dega help. And Dega had to support Nkoranza with the same tune. And Asante, knowing this, came in between Kintampo and Nkoranza, to stop Dega from helping Nkoranza. Because Asante knew Kintampo was Dega. If they knew that Kintampo wasn't Dega, they would have attacked Kintampo. Because if they knew Kintampo was part of Nkoranza, they would have attacked Kintampo. But they didn't. They stood in between Kintampo and Nkoranza to prevent Dega from going there. But Dega took another route through Sabule and helped Nkoranza in 1892. And they fought gallantly for Nkoranza. And Nkoranza was defeated massively. And their chief, Nnaa Kwasi Jiga, ran away to Atakpame. Let's go there now. So what happened that Nkoranza have the temerity to chest out themselves that they have ever served them? Let's go to the matter. In it, after the war of 1892, when Nkoranza was defeated, shortly afterwards, in 1896, Prempeh I was arrested and sent to Sierra Leone and then to Seychelles. Then the colonial powers brought Nana Efa to Kumasi to install him as Asantehene or Asantehene. And Ashantis were preparing to murder him and destroy him. He got a hint and he ran away to Nkoranza. In this course, there has never been a time when Dega ever served Nkoranza. Let's go to what Nkoranza-Hene, the falsehood that he made, that they give freedom to them. How can a tenant give freedom to the landlord? We are saying that we give you a place to stay at Nkoranza. We didn't give you Kintampo. Here's a borderline, and we're going to discuss all this forward. In the course of time, they are claiming Kintampo, forming their own boundaries, which have no traditional link. Falsehood, using certain people in history to circumvent the truth. I will go there. Before we go there, let's go back to the context itself. The context itself is on Kintampo. Therefore, let's ask ourselves, how was Kintampo established? As I've said in many outlets, videos and write-ups, Kintampo was a Neolithic town history, and it became a transit point for Saharian merchants. They will come down to the sea to buy salt and cola from the forest zone and transport them to the Saharian region. And Kintampo was a transit point. So most of those people were speaking Hausa. Hausa was a lingua franca in those streets. So before then, how come there was a Hausa cattle rearers in Deg or Mo at a place called Brewe. And the Brewe, according to search, is between Tufube, Trabang to Womwe. When I say Womwe, I'm speaking as a true Deg. I don't use the false change name. They call that place now Suronasi. Meaningless. It's called Womwe. It's a Deg town. But they have this problem of abandoning their beautiful towns' names and so joining in falsehood, calling how people mistakenly or inadvertently call their towns. One, Womwe itself. They now call it Suronasi because Akansa call it Suronasi. Mistaken. Even the most indigenous Deg town, historic town like Manchala, a beautiful name, means Buela, Aleu, Abo, Chale Chale, Ado Chale Chale. They are formed in spaces or amorphous formation, non-crystalline corned arrangement. If the corn arrangement is not crystalline, it's amorphous. That amorphous arrangement is how they call Chale Chale. They form as an amorphous form, not organized. Very beautiful name, very meaningful name. But Dega today has fallen short for themselves, and they are calling that town name Mansura. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace, and the name should be changed immediately back to its original name of Manchala, because that is the foundation, one of the most important Deg town. Now a village. Manchala is Manchala. It's never Mansura. And they corrupted a beautiful name. Filna. Filna at the mouth or at the bank of a field. Field represents two things. Field is an old farm that you've left several years. That you farmed there before. So you can say, for 3 years ago, we were farming here. They call it field. This is our field. Another reason why it can be called field is that there's a sweet scented leaf. I mean salmonella. Citronella rather. Citronella leaf. They have that smell, sweet scent. They call them field. So at the bank of those fields. Yet, they abandon these beautiful names. And they are calling it Ahenakom. Because when the accounts come to look for the chief and he's not there, they say he's going to farm. And the chiefs of Dankwa lineage were farming at that place. So when they come to look for them, they are not there. They say he's going to farm. And Asantis called the farm Kom. Kom. And Hina come, so come. It's farm original. Afo is a Western name. It's called Kom. So let's go there. So the original name is Filna. Let's go back to it. Nyamwe, a beautiful name. That has corrupted it because Nakans are calling it a Mansi. No, it is wrong. It is called Nyambwe, and that should be it. Bulela, very historic name. How come it's at war when it was also one of the garrisons of Dega. Bulela was a garrison to protect Dega land against when Chibiko Ashanti wanted to use that route after Dega helped when she at war. So at one of the old wars, so Ashanti wanted to use that route. So they stationed there. So the war didn't come on. So when they came back, Chief asked them, where did you stay? He said, Ya lanyala, ya kasu, bilelebi, biwale hare. A plated rock on the ground. Beautiful name. But they have chosen to forget their own language name. And they're now calling it Branham because it became a hunter's ground. And the Techiman Wenchi people, when they need game meat, and the person is coming from Bulela, they say, oh, Ba Brahmanam, and we're forced to change his name. We'll go back to it. Just recently, Chingabwe, and then where is a town in there? Now they are calling it Chingaku. That's disgraceful. God are giving you a beautiful language. You cannot allow it to be usurped by Asante or Akan language. Let Ashanti exist. Let Dega exist. You don't know what God planned for you. So let's go. We are going back to the history part of the establishment of Kumasi to look at the merits of errors, the merits, errors, and the falsehood of Nkoranza people. Why am I not saying all Nkoranza? I'm saying Nkoranza people because I met certain Nkoranza people and they make this very denigrating comments that Mumofo Masuye. It means the dead people have worshipped or have paid homage to them. No, it has never happened. Dead never pay homage to Nkoranza. Nkoranza was never again a kingdom. Nkoranza itself was a vassal state of Asante from 1723. At what time did a vassal state also have another state under it? It hasn't happened. And then in 1744 became a vassal state of Asante. So there is no period that Dega became under Nkoranza. That would have been dehumanizing now. It would have been disgraceful, isn't it? Just so we move from there. Then go to the establishment of Nkoranza, which is the greatest bone of contention. Falsehood upon falsehood, pile of falsehood, deception, blasphemous treachery, deception, and treachery from the Nkoranza people. Who go there? What really happens? I earlier said there were some cattle realists in Dega land closer to a place called Gwere. Yes, they got problems later on when their cattle were dying from flies. There were a lot of flies at that place, and they were losing their cattle. And there was some mysterious disappearance of some of their people. You know, Dega is an indigenous language. It's an indigenous tribe. So there's power. I'm not going to go there. So their leader, called Garba, sought the help of a Dega king at Longoro, that they want to move from their current place to the transit, Hausa transit, merchant transit point, because of church fly and other things. So he allowed them. So they went and settled at the transit point. Today, that place is called Kintampo, and we'll go there. Then in 1894, 93, 94, 95, thereabout, a section of Samaru Ture is a slave trader, and he was raiding towns, destroying smaller villages. And because the Pantra people did him some good when he wanted to invade Bole. When he invaded Bole, it was the Pantra people who used their boat to cross his people from Bona area, Bona to Bole. So Samaru decided never to attack Pantra. So he established friendship with them. But some remnant of Samaru in the later years attacked Sekwa, Badu, Manje, and all the colonial area, and Ligwe Pantra, Banda Ligwe. When I'm talking of Banda, we are talking of two tribes. Banda Pantra, which is also called Nafana. They are living at Bongase and Banahinko. And we have Banda Ligwe, who are Muslims, who are now predominantly living at Wenchi. And a lot of them came from Manje. So when the remnants of Samaru attacked these people, they sought the help of Dega through Bulela or Brannan, chief Kof Buduman, who contacted all Dega that these people need our help. They are a smaller tribe, Acephalus group. But Dega had never been Acephalus. We had always have leaders, king, chiefs. Every village, every town had a chief. We've never been Acephalus. Let it go straight. As early as in 1495, where Pao was established as a king, and his son became the king of all Dega Kopan, there has never been Acephalus status. We have always have heads. Acephalus community is a community that do not have a superior leader. Acephalus in science means with our head. Acephalus. It came from Acephalus. Cephalus is neck. So when there's no head, it's called Acephalus. It's a scientific word that's cropped into English. So what happened? The Dega, under the command of Bulela or Brananchi Budumano, went with Teow deity, fought with the remnants of Samu, saved the Sekwa people, saved the Badu people, saved the Manje people, saved the Ligwe, Banda Ligwe people. And that's why today there is that friendship tie between Dega or Mo with Banda Ligwe, with Sekwa, with Badu, with Manje people, and we call each other slaves, and we try to teach each other. We are playmates. Our playmates came from this lineage, this occurrence. We fought and saved them from the claws of Samoru and his remnants, or his remnants. So when we call the remnants of the Samoru, but then Garba, the cattle ranger, have moved to station at Kintampo. So the Dega brought them to live with Garba. Why? Because they were also Muslims, and Garba and his people were Muslims. So when the Dega brought these people to stay, the remnant of Samoru, today they are called the Fanyamans, and then they are also contesting with Dega. That's funny, isn't it? Yes. When you don't know the sound of a particular drum and what it does, sometimes you can get lost somewhere. Let's be careful. So when they brought the remnant of Samoru, they lived with Garba, and because they were Muslims, they mingled. But these remnants were really speaking Jula and Wolof. Wolof is at Senegal to Guinea area, and Jula is at Lower Burkina to part of Mali and part of northern part of Côte d'Ivoire. So they were speaking Jula because of the Kong dynasty that they established at northern Côte d'Ivoire. Samoru established a short Kong dynasty. That's where the Jula, they spoke Jula, but they had their root from Wolof. Let's go. So why did they speak Hausa now? Because when they came, they mingled with Garba people who were Hausa Fulani lineage. So they mingled. Because they were Muslims, all Muslims. Not long, they could speak, the generation could speak the Hausa language. So let's go from there. After they brought these people, then another thing occurred, which will represent Nkoranza. Let's listen well. There was a man called Bafo, who was a carver, a wood carver. And he moved from Nkoranza to station at Banantre. But then Kintampo was in the town yet. So when he stationed at Banantre, he married a Deg or a Mo wife. But the woman could not conceive. So in later years, he traveled to Kintampo. It wasn't called Kintampo then. And met Garba. And Garba gave him some concoctions. And he brought it to the wife. And luckily enough, the wife got conceived and had children. And because it was Garba who did him good, he also decided to move from Banantre and join Garba at Keren Kingdom. This man Bafo, his progenies are now the Damwama people of Kintampo, who are claiming Kintampo land for Nkoranza. It's not funny. Let's go. So when Garba stationed at Kintampo, the Hausa merchant, when they come around and they see him establish, a town, forming a town. So they called the place, which was the rest point. They gave it a name, Gariyak Garba, Gariyak, or Gari Garba, which means a town of Garba. So Kintampo was called Garaya Garba by the houses. Then, when the Dega found that their abandoned village, Dega were not ready to stay at Kintampo because of its slave trade route. Because after the colonial trade and the salt trade, when Salaga Market became well known for slave trade, Kintampo Transit became also a transit for slave trade, for slave merchants. So that idea of going to stay in a slave transit point became not a good news for royals. Yes, it wasn't pleasant for royals, people who never conquered like Deg, to go stay in Kintampo. That was why there was a delay in Deg migrating to stay at Kintampo. So Garaya Garba was Kintampo's first name. So it is not wrong when you are going to Kintampo and say, I'm going to Garaya Garba, or I'm going to Garba Garaya, or Gare Garba. We are moving, and we'll go through some of this very well. So what happened? It's late. Yes, you know. I am giving you this. I'm giving this because I sat with my grandfathers and I sat with my fathers and I did all the research. Sometimes I even truncated part of my education to divert into the research in my people. Because what will it be to have all the world degrees and all the PhDs, and somebody is lying to the whole world that my grandfather saved him, where it was my grandfathers who rather saved him. So instead of Nkoranza should be saying, Dega saved them, the right word to say is that Dega saved us. Dega saved Nkoranza. That's what it should. It's not saved, it's saved. Let's go there. So, Bafo also came to stay. And Kintampo started going. But it was called Garaya Garba. And everybody knew the word Garaya Garba came as far as even in the time of the Yaa ASANTEWAA war, it was called Garaya Garba. Then what happened? The name changed. When the Dega were moving in droves to settle there, and the mountains was difficult to climb. But that wasn't the route they used to take to that place. They would take Sabule. Then they come all the way to link there to Techiman and get to that road. They were not climbing the mountain. So when they want to go to the back of the mountain to the area of Abesi, they will see take Sabule and cross and then meet Abesi at their border of Nyamebechre. That's where after Nyamebechre, that's where the border they share with Abesi people. But when it was necessary for them to climb the mountain, it was difficult. But they encouraged each other. Takapo. Endeavor to climb. Takapo. And the name changed. That's how a portion of the commentary saying that, which looks well reasonable. Kintampo. That's how Kintampo came up. A dead name, Takapo. Let's move from here. Straightforward, dead name, Takapo. Nkoranza has no place because it was the Bafo who stayed in Degland at Bananche who came to settle at Kintampo. Then other people of Nkoranza lineage joined him. Then there was a time, a Garba man who formed his town and they call it Garba, who then became Kintampo because of the Dega name, decided to move out of Kintampo. Why? Because of the mountainous nature of Kintampo. They will lose a lot of their cattle who got locked up at the galleys, and they couldn't retrieve them. And the Kintampo land, the grass were not so flourishing, and their cattle numbers increased. So they needed a more virgin plain land, a more virgin plain grassland. So Garba and his people moved from Kintampo to Atibubu Yeji Kwame Nkrumah range. And what happened? But before they moved the Dega, the more people were settling. And other migrants, the Gomes, the Bimobes, they were all settling. Then there was a leadership crisis in a short while. After Garba left, there was a woman called Mama Josie who wanted to usurp Garba's position. He came from the Bafo lineage in a short while, but he was resisted. And he left Kintampo. The Mama Josie left to Nkoranza area. Then what happened then? But then Nkoranza was already formed, and Kintampo was already formed. Then there was a contest. There was a vacancy, or let me say, emptiness at the Ashanti kingdom. But then Prempeh I was taken away to Seychelles. Then Nkoranza-Hene contested that Dega were their vassal state. Seriously. Your landlord became your vassals. How? So the Dega chief, Nnaa Yaw Dagbie, took the case to Asante Council in the absence of Prempeh. And they wanted to do diabolic acts, but he stayed there for a long period before Prempeh came back from Seychelles in 1935 and sat on the case. And he asked Nana Kofifa, have you ever, has Nkoranza ever conquered Mo? He said no. He said, then how did it become your vassal state? And he asked him, have you taken gifts? Have you ever taken gifts from more people to Asante on behalf? Have you ever taken gifts or brought gifts to Asante Palace on behalf of the Mo people? And he said no. And they said, you remember you are Abrampong? He said, yes. He said, do you know that the Mo Hene is also Abrampong? He said, no. He said, if no, at what seat the Mohene sit in front? He said, do you know that only Abimpon sit in front, and those who sit in front, they don't fall under another Abimpon? And he said, yes. He said, Mo have never served you. So Dega won the case against Nkoranza. That Dega, Mo, has never served Nkoranza. And it is reasonable. Me, the one who gave you the land, a place to stay. How do I become the one who ever served you? And when did I serve you? Because when I met you in 1770, you were nobody. And by 1729, you, Nkoranza, became a vassal state of Asante. And you were under Asante. And me, Mo, what the? By 1744, I also became a vassal state of Asante. So when you were a vassal state, you couldn't have gotten a vassal state. And when I became a vassal state in 1924, I became equal with you in a Prempeh status. So it never was. And Dega won the case against Nnaa Kofifa. But before then, there was a treacherous act somewhere in 1919, when in the absence of the same Prempeh affairs, Nsamankou Kofifa went back to Kumasi and apologized to the Asante chiefs and established friendship with them. In a diabolic act, conniving with them to take Dega land for them. Let's see. So they appointed a colonial district administrator who moved from Wenchi to Nkoranza, then to Kintampo. And he was called Fuller. So Nkoranza-Hene and a few Ashanti paramount chiefs at Mansia connive with the Fuller to take Dega land to Nkoranza people. And when Fuller came to Kintampo, he wanted to have a talk with the Dega king at Longoro, but it wasn't easy. Remember, there are indigenous people, and they are powerful. So when he sent messengers, some of the messengers don't come back. It was very difficult to deal with Dega. So he sided with Nkoranza people to cheat Dega land from Nkoranza people. And he hasn't got a mandate. So he made a contract that certain portion of Kintampo belonged to Nkoranza people, which is not true. Because at the eastern side of Kintampo, Dega has no boundary with Nkoranza. They have boundary with Abesi people beyond Nyamebetwe, all the way to the back, far to the Black Volta Bank beyond Bipe, to the east. Let's go. So when he did this, he asked the Dega elders to come and sign. But then the Methodist missionaries had come, and they liaised with the Dega people to have relation with the colonialists. Now, Dega in later years took Nkoranza to court. That they have no link with Nkoranza at the eastern border. So they asked Abesi to testify. And the same treacherous act of Nkoranza connived with Abesi people to testify against Dega that if they win the land from Dega, they will give a portion to Abesi. So Abesi accepted falsehood and went and testified. Then later they refused Abesi those land and later took Abesi's own land. So Abesi took them to court. That even though they didn't give them the land they said they stole you from there, they Nkoranza rather kill for their land. So the case went back to court. And Abesi asked for Dega to testify. But because they testified against Dega, there was a faction somewhere, which we'll discuss later. And now, Abesi is crying that they sat aloof for Nkoranza to steal their land, and Dega are at the front of a tussle that Nkoranza treacherously using all other means to take their land. So in all this, it's so clear, in essence, that the treacherous acts of Bafupin is in the blood of every Nkoranza people. And deception, lies. And this case happened also in 1992. When Kintampo market was being, the new Kintampo market was being built. Even after the falsehood of Fuller, which I think all Dega should stand up to change the name of Wowo, which was called Wowo by Dega. The authorities gave that name to Fuller. Fuller doesn't deserve a single name in Dega land. So that name should be changed, either back to Fuller or any royal. Not Fuller. Fuller is evil. Then what happened? In 1992, when we were asking for land to build, Nkoranza mine to be used for the market. The tobacco side getting to Adantankro Road near what we call habitat to be used for the market. And they asked the Mohini or the Longoro Kooro, Nnaa Kooro Dimpoh II, and he gave his land at the Tamale Roads, the current market. That was the land Nnaa Kooro Dimpoh gave out. So the administration chose the land as a befitting land. So the land Nnaa Kooro Dimpoh chose was what was used. So what's your problem coming to contest for? If it was your land, you would have chosen it. Please. Nkoranza, look, you should have been our children, babies. Your aim is to usurpate our land. But it's over. And we will come back. Dega shall come. And make sacrifices to ignite the oracles that link us to the Nkoranza. So that any Nkoranza person whose teeth in our land, even beyond Nkoranza, should not exist. So that all of them will leave our land. I think this is what we want. If you stepped on the tail of the mamba, on the black mamba, what happened? You get a poisonous bite. And that's what you want. You have it. This statement was also once made by one Ashanti king called Kofi. When Kantamanto Amankwatia went to war against Cape Coast in 1873, and he got problem on the way and asked for reinforcement. Kantamanto asked for reinforcement, and Asantehene told them, I never asked you to go to war. If you wish for war, you have it. Even Nkoranza, with their usurpation plan, treacherous acts in their blood, if they stepped on the tail of the black mamba, they will get their poisonous bites. And it will be very bitter. The summary of this is that I have given you a place to stay. And I know where I gave you. Where you are asking for, I didn't give you that. I never gave you Kintampo. So Kintampo is not yours. So this is how the whole thing started. So wherever you are, whosoever you are, Nkoranza person, know that you are a tenant in Kintampo. The owner of the land is Dega. That's Dega land. I met some Nkoranza people, and the funny thing is, the funny description they give to Dega, they are just some small people living at Moline. And then they want to claim in Asante. If you come to somebody's land and build your own village, the village is progressing. In Asante and Gunja, the real owner of the land will send their royals there to become king or chief of the land or the village. So this truth has to be told. Nkoranza should know they beg for land. And part of it, part of their land, is a treacherous act of deception which Ashantis took from the Techiman people and gave it to them. I think if Ashanti had done their homework well they would have known the treacherous acts of Nkoranza and wouldn't have vandalized monuments. Maybe one day they will apologize and return those land they seized from monuments back to Techiman. I met a lot of Nkoranza people, and they were never told the truth. They just tell them, they were royals of Asante. No, you were not royals. And they left, migrated. You did not migrate. Migration, yes, you migrated by what means? You ran. So if you want your size, Dega is not your size. Dega is your master. And because Dega has done so much for Asantis, and in coming to the Asante Palace, they always come with their food. So they always come with their food, smoke, with the Asante called Atakpame. So they gave them a big stool called the Asanti of Asante Kingdom. You have nothing. You are just an umbrella. So let's move from there. So there is nothing for Nkoranza to contest from there. You don't have a land in Kintampo. I gave you a land. I said, I didn't give you Kintampo. What's your business? Before we just end all this, I'd like to just describe what happened at the northern side also. At the north there, sometimes I don't like using the word more. It looks a bit awkward. It is not original. The original is thick, powerful. Using more hurts me a bit. And all the way from Nnaa Kwasi Lambo, Fumbe, they are all there. And what happened? Because they were a distance from the Longoro Kooro, they appeared as fellows. So, in 1943, when they were establishing, they were moving the Gonja Palace from Nyangani to Damango. They sought everybody's help, support. And the Tenga people said, we are Dega people, but we don't establish children. In the Gonja hardly said, okay then, in the friendship, as a playmate, they said, then we will bring a chief to stay there. That's why the Bolan still appoint the chief to Tinga. This should be corrected also. And recently at Banakwanta, we shouldn't have, the town should not be called Banakwanta. It's called Dua. And we should respect them. But I think the deck themselves has caused a lot of errors in this endeavor. So from here we'll move from here and realize that yes, Nkoranza has been making some commentaries and more people came from north. They are not. That is true. That is the facts. We came from the north part of this country. But ask them, when did we come? And ask they themselves, as a can, where they come from. And that can came from Mali. So if they came from the north, it doesn't invalidate. They are holding on lands for you to wish, or for you wishing to yourself. Now, it's true. They are migrated from the old Gurunchi kingdom. Gurunchi, who stand from bullets cannot penetrate or weapon cannot penetrate by the Moshi people. The Moshi tried, fight them severally. It wasn't working. And that Gurunchi was sharing border with Mosi to the north, Busanga or Bisa to the northeast, and the east with the Mamprogus, and the west with the Jola. So when the Mosi couldn't, fight them, they called them Gurunchi. Gurunchi. And that Gurunchi disintegrated somewhere in 1450 thereabout, because of an impulse on a ritual of a Teow god which is owned by the Dega, the current Mo people. The Dega were the warriors of the Gurunchi kingdom. And the current Sisala were the chiefs. So you can be the chief, but you don't hold a warrior festival. So there's a problem with the dog head, which was only warrior group that took it. But the chief group, called Potobari, or Karen Sisala, took part of it, getting the warrior group angry. And instead of attacking the Sisalas, which were their brothers, they decided to move and abandon them. Didn't sound them. So before the Sisala came to look for them, they are gone. So they went back, they say Atole. So they are called Atole by Sisalas and other group. Atole means they are not there. They left. And they descended down under the eldership of Mala. Other narratives say under the leadership of Mala. With Pago, Lebele, Kenibaya, whatever, they all came down. Settled first. Cross the Black Volta. Settle at Mancha. Then later, but they were from Teow, near Gulu, between Gulu and Jefferson. So some of the people came from Teow, some from Jefferson, some of the Dega people, all across, because most of the villages have this, dichotomies of people who were existing to stand within the Gurunchi group. And which are the Gurunchis? One, the Sisala, Deg, Vagla, Safalba. You wouldn't know some. Safalbas are Amounfo. That's why you call Amounfo Bolo. So when you hear they say Bolo Bolo, they are from Amounfo. So that's their gods. At the Safaba. The Vulgars, original Occupy Bole, until the Gunjis came, Sola. All the way to Sorokong and all the villages. Now all the Vulgars. Then the Vulgars, from there we have the Tampumans, which are also part of the Grunchi group. The Tampumans are at Daboya area. Then we have the Kasina Nankana, which other people call them Gucci. But their real name is Kasina Nankana. So this sect of people formed the old Grunchi kingdom, of which it disintegrated and Dega moved out of it. The word Deg means prosperity, increase, enlargement, multiply, flourishing. So if the name is so beautiful like this, it cannot be replaced by Mo, which just means thank you. So in summation, in all this description or history, Nkoranza should be the one serving, paying homage to Longoro Kooro or Mohene, saying, Nana, we thank you for giving our grandfathers place to stay at Nkoranza. If not, we would have been lost in the bushes, killed by wild animals, because there were not many. And they were not warriors. They were people who would run away at midnight. So they were not having war instruments. They had nothing. For them to lie to the whole world that they fought Dega. Hey, do you know what that stands? Even Samoru couldn't fight Dega. Well, ask Nafana Pantra. What happened when they took what Osebosu asked them to present gold to pay for indemnity against Amounfo war? And they paid theirs and gave a pound of gold to pay for Gyaaman, and later went and surrounded Gyaaman. What happened to them? When Dega got them, it was serious. They traced them to Buasi, to Banaingo. We have very good borders with them. That's why there is something called the Black Friday of Banda, Bantra. It's not pleasant, and I'm not here to open their wounds because they have not attacked us. If they do, I will open their wounds. But let me tell Nkoranza, you have no place. The only time Mama Jose, in a small time, trying to rule Kintampo, later he was stopped when they formed a new Longoro Kooro. And all time that Kintampo existed, they paid dues to Longoro Kooro. They paid fowls, dogs. It was collected by Gaba from the Fanyama people, from the Bafo people. And they sent them to Longoro for the sacrifices. And when Garba left and the Dega settled, they were taking this yearly pacification things or animals from the Fanyama people and the Bafo people. Why they were not able to take from the Bafo people land? Because the Bafo wife was from Banandre. It was the mistake that Dega did that, because your wife from Banandre, your children are also of that lineage. So we cannot tax you. So the Dega were not taxing the Nkoranza people station in their land. And when the other people travel and live with them, they use that clause to avert paying those yearly pacification dues to them. But in no time have they organized themselves and appointed their own leader. And then paying homage and taxes. And who, instead of repaying those taxes to Dega, he rather linked himself to Nkoranza. And Nkoranza forcefully said, "You are Kintampo." No, that is in 1973. When did Kintampo exist long time for you to be establishing Kintampo in 1973? But then Dega have established Kintampo Kooro since 1990. Yes. Notwithstanding this, Dega also made some mistake. Lack of taxation and not taking yearly items from those who live in their land. Because of the piety of the deity, Teow. Teow doesn't want gifts because he's claimed as a rich god and rich deity. He does not need other people's wealth. So we end here. I tell Nkoranza, I tell all that Nkoranza should have been paying their homage. Because Nkoranza never fought for any land in that land. He only used force with usurpation, which will not material. We see no Longoro Kooro. The war god of Nkoranza is a Longoro Kooro. It's not funny. That god they are calling their war god is a replica, is a summa of Teow. So we can easily attenuate you. I don't go. You have no war god. So stop. Stop. Hey, you have your master. Your master have chosen not to oppress you. And you are now saying that your master serves you. Master, you've overstepped. And Asantehene should hear this. If you hear some of this history, and we'll find ways to tell Nkoranza, Master, this is not your place. Why is it that when Amounfo stepped on Nkoranza, he need a dead to lead him? Because that is not Nkoranza people land. If that doesn't lead him to Longoro Kooro, Amounfo can enter there. Because that is not his land. The true owners are not Nkoranza people, they are Dega people land. It's them who appointed them or Atakpame or Longoro Kooro who can lead Asantehene to walk through Longoro Kooro. So now you know who are the masters. Be proud of yourself as a Deg. You people are sometimes so shameful that you create so necessary self-demeaning. You name self, you abandon them. You sing names. This is where your problem comes from. At your church, at Kintampo and all the churches, you don't want to speak your language dead to God. The God that gave you a beautiful language. Who said he can only understand you? Or because you live with other people who came to your church in your own land, you are forsaking your dead language. Think of it again. You've lost yourself a long time ago. You have given chance for common Nkoranza to be trampled on your face. You are not bold enough. You don't know yourself well. It's like an eagle feeding with chickens. You Dega of Kintampo. You are like eagles feeding with chickens. You don't know that you can soar. You reduce yourself to chicken where you have increased. Nobody ever conquered you. Let it be in your head. As a Deg person. Asante were conquered by many people. Then you conquered them. Achim conquered them. Abimo conquered them. Sir Garnet was conquered. But you are the truest, freest person. You should be proud of yourself and speak them to God with pride. That you coach you with yourself under tree as if you don't have a language. Deg soon. Ya soon kakumbebora. Ile nuni was tachana birgo. Deg itachole ko event. Ke ayugeti ke ba Yahweh. Awadegire ba Yahweh pe. If it chimeke iyotadwa. If it tetel jirigi kwa yelaba. If it hango asura di Allah ngaba ngode ireka venteg bolla isi fresh dege bebo amenanyo ina soni ale odeg ina soni malao ina soni pago ina soni level ina soni wuripe ina soni taki ina soni tachi Nnaa soni adona kwa nnaa soni bag nnaa soni juga nnaa soni jam anwene na ngon daga kwa ledi opokune achampone achampoma lejo iro event ke ayogeti ke ba Yahweh de ke ayogetis pepela awan kwaza wole Yahweh ya pepe if you pull a deck it will see that fenwe numbe ba kinta popula ole no deck kra ole no kin numbe kwa la bula daga e pete kwa le so na nisie e do toreke no pete wo bula so e be do toreke deck e te pe wo bula so o se bango enya lire no enya lire if you do leader ili inandare le mala bali chami kes ke wa blag konkania kale de herba ani akwachi a ebi kwe kachi kura nare ka cheke fe yo beri bo cheke ebi fi dubla ba ye kura nare ase ba po baba chimi isi ase eloro ke duka so ahabola anu bubba aye ke gelage epe konta belek numbu numeta kunne kwa gise benyuro woko daga ya nyuruge ya kuma nkranzan gimo froba pa ya iro bota chara nrugo weli nyuba men wale kwano papa a kubi dwede punya abalerone eba de yakam asa pepe tira ba yire ya ti pepe nkwanza pepe la utla yire dag pepe le kaka un dagla evem e kagila ti pukua sewa amaniampo aleba yeleba dag buga soma ne bakrata gila pai ati yesi dwa bibi le dag so dag so pa so ni banewel be so ne sedawa di ba so ne dagbie no so ni kin ige so na le yo isani wese isani jimekin isani isani pela dag so ba saraga sona ba kwala chika de lati bagele ase we be a son ba noa adusumla ase ire establish it. We are about to establish a new kingdom. Rise up to the bidding. Thank you. Jam Noa. No Bubalole. Jam. Jam.